cuts me off after 15 minutes, so I want to jump back in and finish up what we were doing. So on our triangle, when we were looking at acute angles, we noticed that this one, and this one are all about the same angle. In fact, they really are. And they are all small, so they're all acute. That means you have 3 acute angles. And if you have 3 of them that are acute, obviously there's no right angles and no obtuse, okay? Our lines in this case are going to be intersecting again because they're not meeting at a perfect 90 degrees. Okay, so now let's move on to number 4. This one was probably a little bit trickier, but let's see how you did. Okay, so sets of parallel lines. Well, I know right away, I can see because they're the same length, that line and that line are the same length and they're going on the same plane. They're never going to intersect. So there's one set. Okay, what about this line though? Do you see anything that's going the same direction? It will never intersect. Well, I see these little ones here and here. So that means those little ones, right, are going to be parallel to that bottom line as well. Even though they break in the middle, there's still going to be another set. So that's 2 sets of parallel lines. If I look at this one here, there's nothing across from it that's going at that diagonal. So that one doesn't have one. And this one over here doesn't have one going that opposite direction either. So let's go back to what we had before, and we should have 2 sets of parallel lines. And that was probably the trickiest because of those small ones. Okay. Now, let's look at perpendicular lines. Now, for me to understand the perpendicular lines, it helps me if I do the angles first. So if I look here, this angle, I could put a perfect square in there, or a perfect piece of corner of the paper, and that would make a right angle. Okay, this one over here would do the same thing. When I have a horizontal line and a vertical line connecting at a spot, that's always going to give me a right angle. Okay. Now the next thing is these angles here, even though they look like to be on the outside, they're still angles. And you still have a vertical line matched up with a horizontal line. So that's still going to give you a right angle. And if you're noticing, this shape is symmetrical, meaning I could draw a line straight down the middle. Well, if I could draw a straight line. And they would be the same on either side. So this one too is a right angle. Okay. Now, this one here on the inside, oh, it's so cute. So yes, that one is acute. Whoa. And since it's symmetrical, this one over here is acute as well. Okay. What about this one here? And I know it's kind of hard to see with my line in a minute in the middle of it. But if you take your piece of paper and you line it up, put one corner in, put the corner of your paper in the center of that corner, and then take one edge and line it up. When you do that, that other line should stick out a little bit. And it's doing that because that means it's an obtuse angle. Okay? So now let's count up all of our acute angles. We have 1, 2, that looks to be it, 2 acute angles. How about right angles? 1, 2, 3, 4. How about obtuse angles? Oh, just 1. Okay, now that I know that, this will help me with my perpendicular lines. Okay, so perpendicular lines, I have one line going straight up horizontal, or horizontal this way, and one going vertical. And when I do that, I'm going to make a perfect right angle in the center. So I have a line there and a line there. So I have a vertical line and a horizontal line that make up my right angle. I have the same thing here that make up this right angle. So now I have 2 sets of perpendicular lines. I also have this one here and that one that make up that angle. So there's 3. And since this is a symmetrical shape, I have this one and this one that make up that angle. So now I have 4 sets of perpendicular lines. Okay? check over yours. If you got that a little confused, go back and look at that if you were not able to fix your mistake. Okay. Right now, we're going to go on to the next page. Okay. Here is a diagram of different lines. I want you to name two lines that intersect. And intersecting, not where they're perpendicular. Okay, so when I go to look at this, I'm going to show you what you would write for this. But for two lines that intersect, I have, right about here where they intersect at point A, that's not perpendicular. So I know I can take line AE. So I have to look at the whole line AE. And even though E is far away, that's part of that whole line. C is just a point in the middle. So I'm going to take this whole line right here. And it's going to intersect with the line going horizontal. So I have a diagonal line and a horizontal line. It's not going to give me perpendicular. So A and E and A, and then take your last dot, D. Those two are intersecting lines. Okay, and that's how you would write that. Okay, so now that you know how to do that, I want you to now answer 2, 3, and 4. So 2, let the dot go crazy. 2 says name two lines that are perpendicular. So that means you're going to have two lines written down. Number 3, name two lines that are parallel. Same thing. Number 4, name an angle that is obtuse. And for now, if you just want to write the letter that gives that vertex, that's fine. And then I'll show you how to write that as an angle. Okay, so go ahead and answer those 3 questions. Pause this so you can answer it, and I am going to go on to check it, but I want you to do this first so you know you're ready for the test, okay? All right, so we're going to go on. You should have answered 2, 3, and 4 now because you paused it. So now we're going to find two lines that are perpendicular. That means you have one that's horizontal and one that's vertical. They meet at a right angle. And this shape is so nice because they even give us that right, and I'm still on my eraser. They give us that right angle right here by putting that box in there. Oh, thank you. Doesn't always happen that way. So this line that's going vertical is line DE. Now, if you started with the other line, that's fine as long as DE is one of them in this case, okay? That one and this line go in this direction, which is horizontal, even though my line's not straight going over it. Take your two farthest lines, A and D. Now again, if you had AD and DE, you just wrote them flip-flopped, that's fine. That's still giving that same perpendicular spot. Another one that you could have said is CB over here and AD, okay, because right here, 2 would give you a perpendicular spot. So perpendicular lines right there as well, okay? Now, two lines that are parallel, and I'm going to go to green this time. That means they're going to be on the same plane, going this way, going diagonal, or up and down, and they never cross. So if you see, you have this line right here, whoa, and this line right here. Those are never going to cross. So we have line CD or DC, or not D, B, excuse me, CB. And this line over here, ED. So if you just flip-flopped the letters around, that's okay. Still going to give you that same line. All right? Last one, name an angle that is obtuse. Okay, so we're looking for a large angle. I'm going to erase some of this so we can see more of what we're doing. So we established a few right angles. Now we need to find an obtuse. So, were you able to find an obtuse angle in here? And I'm going to give you a hint. When lines intersect, and if you have one acute angle, you also have an obtuse angle. And let me show you. So right here, this angle, that's acute. Opposite of it is acute as well. But to make two acute angles, the opposite, or the side right next to it, this angle, has to be obtuse. And that one has to be obtuse. They can't be right. One right leads to another right. See, here's a right, and that one's going to give you another right on this side, and another one on this side, and another one on this side. And essentially, we've made another large square. Weird how perpendicular lines will do that, but they will. So let's go back to the obtuse ones. So you have right on E, and it's okay if you want to say angle E. These are not really labeled correctly on these lines. If this was done differently, we would label it a little bit differently. But right there at angle E, where it intersects from this line, and this line here would be E to D. Again, this is kind of a weird one. There should be another letter up here letting us know what we're dealing with, okay? Or you can say, yeah, I don't know any other way to do that, but that's going to give it to you right here, okay? All right, so I hope you found that one. There's another one right here, and another one right there. It's probably more awkward on how to label it, correct? Yeah, so this is obtuse, and this is obtuse, but those two are acute, okay? And there are others. Right here is an obtuse. This one is acute, very acute. I could barely write the A in there. And another one right there, okay? All right. So if you didn't get that, go back and check it just so you're ready. I don't think you're even going to see anything on angles like the way this question is worded. I just wanted you to see it within these lines, okay? All right, boys and girls, good luck on your test. I know you're going to do awesome. So let your greatness shine. All right, bye, guys.